This is a big one. I finished Witcher 3, the base game, about 115-hour playthrough, and I have some final thoughts for my review. I mean, I still have to play the DLCs, but before that. So I am probably the last person that hasn't played this game, because it came out about 10 years ago now. And I had very high expectations going into it. I knew that it won Game of the Year. I knew the Steam reviews were glowing. I heard just from word of mouth the game was amazing. So I went into it knowing that I wasn't going to rush it. I was going to take my time and pace myself through this long playthrough. And it exceeded just about every expectation I had. And before playing this game, I didn't know a game could make me feel like this kind of way. It had that kind of impact. So let's start with the story itself, which is obviously a strength of the game. The story, easiest 10 out of 10 story you'll ever see. And depending on the choices that you make in the game, it could leave you feeling sad or happy or both. Actually, no matter what, it's probably gonna be a mix of both. So the best part about the story is that people talk about how games can be movies in a bad way because, you know, you'll watch a cutscene for 15 minutes and it feels like you're just kind of zoned out, unplugged. This is not like that. This was the opposite, where the combination of the story itself, the world, the characters, the immersiveness, and the dialogue options, all those things combined made it feel like you are literally in the story and you're making decisions. And based on the decisions you make, it impacts your character and other characters around you. And it is a crazy feeling. So the story, I loved all the characters, even the ones I hated. I still liked that they were in the game. Just from very early in the game, the story hooked me where it was like, okay, this is actually a pretty interesting story. And then you get pulled into it further and further as you get invested more into the story. The mechanics, if we go to a different category, like the mechanics, I can see are a little bit outdated. Like the combat still holds up. It's not a 10 out of 10, but you know, back in 2015, it probably was a 10 out of 10 combat, and now it's probably aged a little bit. Oh, dude, the one thing with the mechanical part that annoyed me was riding Roach, the horse. That shit was annoying. It was so janky, and then sometimes it would bug out where I couldn't sprint with the horse, and I'd have to exit the game, then come back in, and he'd get stuck in random spots, and anytime you kind of go on like a bridge, he'd slow down. So horse mechanics are the weakness of the game. The only weakness is riding the horse. But it wasn't like unusable or anything like that. The combat was surprisingly good. I like the combination of the signs. I did play Witcher 2, and the combination of the signs, and then I was using the bombs, the oils. Halfway through the playthrough, turning on automatic oil applying was a big plus. The decoctions, potions, all that, I really like the combination of it. It made for very unique gameplay. There's a lot of different ways you can kind of take your build. The graphics are a little bit, I wouldn't say tricky. I know the game didn't look this good in 2015 when it came out, and they got a next-gen update a couple years ago. But even without the next-gen update, I've seen videos. It's an amazing-looking game. The sunsets combined with the fields, the forest, even the dark fantasy kind of gloomy areas are still really cool to look at. Skellige is not my favorite part of the game, but even I had to kind of take it in and be like, man, these mountains look pretty awesome. The size of the world too, I feel like such a big trade-off for worlds in video games is often you'll have these massive open worlds, but it's very difficult to make them feel handcrafted and filled in. But this was the opposite. It was such a big map. There's all these giant regions. And despite that, it still felt like it was so alive and real. Walking through Novigrad, oh my God, it was one of those rare experiences when you're walking through Novigrad and it never feels like you're playing the game alone, which is kind of crazy for a single player game. You'll walk through a city and then maybe a character will pop up and then there'll be a dialogue option or a cutscene or a fist fight or some side quest or POI that pops up as well. The cities were really cool, but then the combination of that, the countryside with the grassy fields and the sunsets were really cool. The enemy types, I like the enemy types. There was a good combination of monsters and humans, the different kinds of monsters. There weren't as many boss fights as I kind of expected, but I guess that's just kind of the game that it is. There were just a few boss fights that I can remember, honestly. So world, 10 out of 10. Story, 10 out of 10. The combat, let's give it a 9 out of 10. Mechanics, 9 out of 10, minus the horse. The presentation and the level design too. Another thing with a lot of open worlds these days, I find like the level design. Because traditionally, you know, when you play a video game, it's like, oh, you're on level 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. And that's how they structure the game. Think about like Doom. You know, you play a level and then you complete it. Then you go to the next level. And it's very linear in how it's set up. Open worlds kind of complicate that because all of a sudden a player doesn't have to go straight to the next quest. They can kind of reroute for 20 hours and do a bunch of other things, then come back. But somehow it still keeps you in that immersiveness, making it feel like it's all pieced together exactly right. And no matter how you kind of flip it, it lands upright. And yeah, and then I got the post Witcher 3 depression for a couple days. That was cool. I didn't even get the worst ending. I got the mediocre ending when Ciri becomes the princess of whatever the fuck. Not the best ending, but I know not the worst ending either. So I'll definitely have to do another playthrough in the future to fix that. And then last thing, probably the performance and optimization. I had very few crashes. I know playing a game 10 years later, there's most of the bugs and kinks are going to be worked out, but not many performance issues whatsoever. So overall, it's my favorite. I haven't even done the expansions yet. I mean, maybe by the time you guys see this, I will have finished the expansions, but as of right now, it looks like my favorite game of all time. Just the combination, the story. I've never had a game make me feel such like a, I don't know, invested way about decisions, and then that in combination with the combat in the world it was just amazing. I don't know what else to say. So definitely the closest, if a 10 out of 10 game exists, it is Witcher 3. And yeah, now on to the expansions. 10 out of fucking 10.